I'm the moderator today, and I'm Smita Sinha from Rotary Club of Bhubaneswar Flamingo in District 3262, India. And today's the moderators are myself and the coordinator of this program, OGM Esri, ambassador, and who is the host and the convener of this program as well. And the Zoom meeting managers are Gay Figoff, Africa organizer for World Beyond War from Cameroon, and Rotarian Edward Siladurai of Rotary Bangalore, Agara, India. And time moderator and screenshot manager is Rotarian Edward Siladurai from Rotary Bangalore, Agara, India. So uh, we are now starting the meeting, and I request Rotarian Valerie Onam OGM, the Charter President of E-Club of Peace Nigeria, to call the meeting to order and give the welcome address.
Dear fellow Rotarians, peace builders and friends of Rotary, I bring you goodwill, love, and friendship from Nigeria and District 91226 and the Rotary E-Club of Peace Nigeria. My name is Valerie Onome Ozwem, the Chartered President of Rotary E-Club of Peace Nigeria. I hereby call this meeting to order at 3:30 p.m. Nigerian time. Thank you all and have a great meeting.
Thank you. Now I request Rotarian Serif Oladimbeji to read out the object of Rotary.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Rotarian Sheriff Oladimeji. I'm from the Rotary E-Club of Peace Nigeria. It is my honor to read the object of Rotary, which serve as the guiding principle that inspire every Rotarian around the globe. The object of Rotary is to encourage and foster the ideal of service as a basis for worthy enterprise. This is accomplished through the following four key areas. One, the development of acquaintance as an opportunity to serve. This recognizes that through meaningful relationship, we can achieve greater impact within our communities and the world. Number two, high ethical standard in business and professions. The recognition of the worthiness of all useful occupation and the dignifying of each Rotarian's occupation as an opportunity to serve society. The third one, the application of ideal of service in each Rotarian's personal, business, and community life. And lastly, the advancement of international understanding, goodwill, and peace through a world fellowship of business and professional persons united in the idea of service. This timeless principle continues to guide us as Rotarians towards creating a lasting impact both locally and globally. Let us remain steadfast in this mission to serve above step. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Rotarian Serif. And now I request Rotarian Afolabini of E-Club of Peace Nigeria to read out the Fourier test.
Yeah, good evening, all. My name is Rotarian Afolabi Absalani from Rotary Club of Peace Nigeria. I'm here to take the four-way test of things we think, say, or do. Number one, is it the truth? Number two, is it fair to all concerned? Number three, will it be goodwill and better friendship? Number four, will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you for the opportunity. I mute the mic.
Thank you. Today, actually, one of the past president of Greater Dhaka in Bangladesh, District 3 to District 64, PP Kawaser Sahabuddin's mother passed away just few minutes back. So I request everyone, let's pray for the departed soul for 1 minute.
Rest in peace, Om Shanti.
Thank you. I again request Rotarian Valerie Onum OGM, the Charter President of E-Club of Peace Nigeria, to introduce the Rotary District and Clubs Joint International Online Mega Meeting Platform. All the host club and the co-host club that have been doing fantastic work for last 2 years, uniting the clubs from around the world. Over to you, Valerie.
Yeah, before you start sharing your screen, let me introduce the Mega Meeting platform. Thank you once again, everyone, for finding time to attend this yet another international Mega Meeting. The Rotary Club Mega Meeting platform was formed by my humble self, Uzwem Isiri, during the COVID era, and together we brought hundreds and thousands of Rotarians from all around the world. We've brought together over 16,000 Rotarians from over 200 districts and from also over 300 clubs from all around the world. We are privileged and happy that this platform is still connecting Rotarians from all over the world. And we hope that we'll continue to inspire Rotarians and peace builders from all around the world as we come together to promote peace and service and friendship. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now I request Rotarian Arthur Canagis of Rotary E-Club of World Peace USA to give the Peace Day remark.
All right. I'm very pleased to be here with you today. I'm Arthur Canagis, and this at the beginning of this meeting, before we got started, so many people were saying, "What can we do about these terrible wars around the world?" And we talk about being one world, one people, and sometimes we feel kind of helpless that we're being that we can't have any way to control all these things, and we wish, who could stop these wars? Who's the superpower who could save us? Well, I made a movie, the World Citizen, called "The World Is My Country," and I asked Leonardo DiCaprio, the actor who has spoken at the UN very beautifully about peace and so on, and I asked him, in the movies, just when things get worse, who's the hero who can come along? Hero comes along at the last minute and saves us. Who's the hero who can save us? And he said, the hero is all of us. The hero is all of us. Now, sometimes we think we don't have such fantastic power to be able to, change the world. But, one of the things that that I discovered when I was very young is my parents taught me this, and many teachers teach this, that if we can visualize, if we can picture very clearly exactly the future that we want, it's much more likely to happen. If we go around saying, oh, everything's falling apart, it's all going to be terrible, well, it's not very likely that we'll find a way to fix it. But if we can sort of get into that moment of silence kind of space that we just had, and we can go within, and we can begin to very vividly picture the way we can come together, then we can invent new tools. The human race is an incredibly inventive species, and we invented all these systems that exist now. We live in the stories we create, and we can create new stories that can recreate our world in a better way. And that's the means I made the movie "The World Is My Country." I'll put in the link, but if you just go to theworldismycountry.com/Rotary, you can watch the movie free, and it's a very inspiring story about how we, the people, can actually unleash our superpower by coming together above the nations that divide us and creating peace. And there's a very powerful movie out right now that's called "The Source It's Within You," and it's by Dr. Joe Dispenza. And I was just talking with one of our fellow members of this team here earlier, and it's being made free. There's a special weekend I'll put in the chat later, and they did scientific studies where they have measured, as people meditate, They've measured every single uh, part of their body, what happens, not just their brain waves, but what it does to their blood, what it does to their organs, what it does to the electrical signals in their body. And they found that when you do specific types of meditation and that powerful emotional feeling of that visualization, it literally changes the chemical balances in your body. There's a book, The Placebo, It's You, and in every single ailment that there is, a certain number of people get healed by the placebo effect. Well, what if we could magnify that placebo effect, and we can actually create that change? Now, not only have they found that you can actually heal internal organs, you can heal yourself from cancer, you can heal yourself. Miraculous healings happen right while the instruments are watching the body create new chemicals that do this. And you'll see that in that movie. We can actually do that kind of healing with the world. They have put out meters, and when large numbers of people meditate in certain powerful ways, there's actually changes in the electromagnetic balance at the world level. And so I think at a practical level, we should take seriously once we create that vision, then we can realize that if we take seriously what almost every constitution says, that we, the people, are the sovereigns. We're the ones who create governments. We're the ones who created these nations that are fighting wars with each other. We can get together and rise above that, and we, the people, can create a people-powered planet. We call that in our podcast back here, the people-powered planet. Every week we talk about how do we do that? How do we come together and lift ourselves to be able to be the governors rather than the governed of this small planet? How can we, sometimes a disruptive app will change everything. For example, well, to begin with, when they created automobiles, they didn't have to fight horse and buggies. They just disrupted it. Something new happened. Well, we take something like Facebook. A couple of people figured this out in their college dorm, and it took off and now it's over 2 billion people use it. A big, huge part of the world population, because it gives them a chance to share with each other, to express themselves, to communicate. Well, what if we create a new tool that allows us to have power to govern, to solve the problems, a solutionary app that allows us to declare ourselves as world citizens and interactively create the laws that govern our world. Inside a country, when somebody does a terrible act, it's criminal justice. You handle it. You don't go retaliate and blow up their whole city and they blow the other people's city up. It's insane the way we're doing that in the world. And if we realize the world is my country and we come together as one and we create that vision, we can indeed create a world where we can outlaw war. We can outlaw environmental destruction and the ecocide, the destruction of the very life planet that we all live on. What greater crime is there than that? We can outlaw these things, and it's up to you and I to do that. And I invite people to join me every week on the People Powered Planet podcast, starting the first Wednesday in October, and join us in figuring out how do we, the people, create the future that we all believe in and want to have. We can do it, folks. Join us.
Thank you, Arthur, for giving us a brief remark on the Peace Day and how we can promote peace and through meditation. That was a good suggestion that you gave. We have 4 speakers today, and there is one young speaker. She's just a 15-year-old, and we are all eager to listen to her. So may I now request Saimita Rath, who is again a 9th grade student and the president of Interact Club of Blossom Schools, Bhubaneswar in District 3262, India, to introduce a 15-year-old speaker, Tahira Khadimi, who is from Afghanistan, currently in Pakistan, to tell her story, the story of bomb and guns, sounds of bomb and guns, with which she was living.
Good evening, everyone. As we all have gathered here to celebrate peace, I, Saismita Rath, the president of Interact Club of Blossom School, will be giving a brief introduction of Tahira Khadimi. Before I start with the introduction, let me enlighten you all with a basic fact about my school. Blossom School is a well-established school in Bhubaneswar, Odisha. It has recently celebrated its 40-year mark as it was established on 8 December 1984. Now, let us know something about Tahira Khadimi. Tahira Khadimi was born on 23rd December 2009 in Ghazni and at the age of 2 moved to Kabul, the capital of Afghanistan. She grew up in Kabul living amongst bombs, guns, and violence against girls and women. In 2021, when Taliban took over her country, she was a school student in 6th grade and she was forced to stay at home. But she did not stop and started studying her 7th grade secretly and illegally in a small school for 7 months. Finally, when the condition got worse, on November 9, 2022, the family was forced to flee Afghanistan secretly in the middle of night and entered Pakistan illegally in a terrible condition. Currently, she lives in Pakistan as a refugee. Let us listen to her stories, her experiences of Taliban coming to her school. Peace is something she has not yet experienced in her life, but she wants to make it a reality for everyone. With this short introduction, I present the brave 15-year-old girl, Tahira Khadimi.
So, everyone, I hope you're doing great. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. And tonight, I speak on behalf of Afghan women hidden behind burqas and silenced by oppression. Their stories, struggles, and dreams are suffocated. I speak up on behalf of all girls and women behind the doors of closed schools in Afghanistan. Their stories, struggles, and aspirations are my purpose. I still can remember the day Taliban came to our school to check over us. And as we were illegal and secret students, we had to run away from the walls. Nobody thought that if you break your leg, your hands, or your arms, but we wanted just to run away from Taliban. We ran away from the walls, from the secret doors, and I can still remember my class fellows, so young girls, aged 13 and 14, forced to abandon education to get married. I can vividly remember the day a mother cried as she hid her daughter's books in our school. I can remember thousands of women dying in front of my eyes in the Kabul airport on August 2021. So I'm here tonight to say that the future of this planet belongs to women, to peace, to love, and to harmony. I want to say that we have faced decades of conflict, but we have not been defeated. We still can stay strong, and we can still raise our voices and tell our stories. I want the world to hear our voices and see us. I want to bring peace in this world because we have seen decades of conflict in our country or in all over the world. And that's the case I have experienced in my life. I've seen guns, I've seen lots of explosions in Afghanistan, but nothing was more painful than this, that you should not be allowed to go to school and pursue your dreams. We are the voices that have been silenced, the faces that have been hidden, and the stories that have been untold. We are Afghan women. We have faced conflict, oppression, and violence in our lives. But we can still stay strong and demand our rights from the world. I want to say that we want peace, justice, equality, and harmony in our world. We want to make this world a better place for every girl, for every woman, and for every human being. Our story is not just a story. We will make a history out of this. And there's not just the end of the way. The days of oppression are behind us, and we are shaping our own destiny. We want to make this world a better place, and to make it tangible, we want everyone involved, because together we can accomplish anything. I believe that peace is possible in this world. Peace brings love, oneness, harmony, and love. So we are doing that. I believe that we can accomplish anything together. I want to say that let's make this happen. Thank you all.
Thank you, Tahira. We are all with you, and we all agree that all of us will work towards bringing peace into the world. That is the reason why all of us are here today. And every girl, every human being has the right to education and to better living. Thank you very much. And be in touch with us. And thank you very much that you connected with us. And we got a chance to listen to your story. Thank you. Now we move on to our next speaker. I request Rotarian Dr. Nivedita Pani, who is the Secretary of Rotary Club of Bhubaneswar Flamingo and District 326 India, to introduce my good friend, Rotarian Dr. Petro Uzbekju, who is the National Chairman of Rotary Action Group for Peace in Nigeria chapter. Over to you, Dr. Pani.
Good evening, everybody. Rotarian Dr. Pietro Uzbekju is a thought leader in peace building works, the National Coordinator of Activating Positive Peace in Nigeria Initiative, and Chairman of the Grey Child Foundation. He is a peace and international relations scholar, a chartered conflict manager, chartered diplomatic manager, and certified UN humanitarian fellow. And Rotarian Petro is a Rotary Foundation cadre of technical advisor for peace and conflict and prevention area of the focus, a Rotary IEP positive peace activator for West and Central Africa, the National Chairman of Rotary Action Group of Peace Nigeria chapter, and District 9127 Peace Building and Conflict Prevention Chair. He is a member of the Nigeria National Non-Kinetic Operation Coordination Group and a member of the Nigerian Army Resource Center. Rotarian Petro is a multi-sector mobilizer. He moderates and participates in community-driven peace-building programs and key stakeholder engagement. He works extensively in PYCCVE, CVR, EWER, DDRR, democracy and good governance, and conflict transformation and other intersection of peace values in Nigeria. We are very much grateful to you, sir, to get you in this August gathering and this platform. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Pani, for the good introduction. Now over to you, Dr. Pietro.
Thank you very much, my very good friend Smita. It's a pleasure to be here. Special greetings to our chair, DG and Grace of the Rotary Action Group for Peace. Special greetings to Barbara and all Rotary Action Group for Peace members on the call. Happy International Day of Peace. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, very distinguished Rotarians, ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed a pleasure to be here. On behalf of members of the Rotary Action Group for Peace Nigeria chapter, I wish everyone a happy International Day of Peace. I know that we've heard a lot about the theme, talking about peace within this period, and that is why my objective in preparing this presentation is to make it more relatable, try to bring it more to life so that we can easily identify with what's happening around us and try to piece it together in terms of the realities of what is going on out there and why indeed peace really matters. This is a very familiar document to peace practitioners within the Rotary ecosystem. Is the GPI of the Institute for Economics and Peace. and made deliberate snapshots so that I can lay emphasis on the top 10 most peaceful countries, and on the other hand, top 10 least peaceful countries, because this will be coming up so that we can actually understand why these countries remain the way they are in terms of development, in terms of weak social fabrics and social structures, in terms of very weak governance institutions. Going a little further, I also decided to spotlight the economic investments for war in these countries. Dotted in red are a few highlighted countries that really invest in the military infrastructure to prosecute these wars, be it conventional or non-conventional as the case may be. Now let's try to interrogate the effects of violent conflicts and wars. And keeping in mind that we're all familiar with the subject matter, so my emphasis or attempt would be to try to make it more relatable to us so that when we talk about the devastating effects of war, we can indeed relate with what is happening around us and how in numbers is not just mere numbers. We're talking about human beings, we're talking about life, infrastructure, and what have you. So I went further to categorize these issues in 5 categories, looking at the effects of war on humanity, effects of war on livelihood and economy, effects of war on the environment, effects of war on social politics, and of course, on psychosis. Talking about humanity and the impact of armed conflicts and wars, the primary one that quickly or easily comes to mind is the casualties. And when these numbers are mentioned, we don't really remember, or it doesn't really prick our consciousness that these are human lives. When they say X number of lives were lost, X numbers of people were killed, X numbers of what happened, somehow we've gotten accustomed to it that it doesn't really resonate that these are human lives like us. It's like multiplying the number of ourselves dying. That's what's playing out in these countries. And then the health crisis, because infrastructure is affected as an effect of war, the displacement, the refugee situations. Then I try to, in particular, capture 3 theaters of war to let us understand the devastating effect of what's going on. Talking about Ethiopia, Russia, and what's going on in Gaza. And just in 2023, Relief Web has it that in 3 months, over 71,000 people lost their lives in Ukraine in just 3 months. 71,000, not just 71, but thousands, And then in 3 months, 23,000 killed in Gaza. And these are human beings. If we do the multiplication and close our eyes and visualize these things, it's a nightmare. But somehow when these things are mentioned on mainstream media, we seem to wave it away because we don't really pay attention to it or digest the thought that these are human beings. Imagine 71,000 people in 3 months. How about effects of war in livelihood and economy? Looking at the food security, the economic decline, the destruction of infrastructure, and resource scarcity. We all know that the shocks that armed conflicts and wars bring together with it is detrimental to survival. And then during this period, nobody talks about businesses and foreign direct investments or even local investments. At this time, the priority is on survival. That's the primary objective. Every other thing is secondary. So that's what war affects, and it's really hard to recover from these things. The public infrastructure is affected, damaged buildings, roads, services, utilities, communication systems, electricities, same as other aspects. Now, quickly, let's look at the environmental impacts. And while putting this presentation together, it was evident to see that nothing about prosecuting war is of a positive interest for the environment. From the raw materials, from the waste materials, and from the utilization of these munitions, the damage on the ecological system, the population, the ecosystems proper, the depletion of the environment. And this has devastating effects on the globe at large, you can see we are still, in some climes, they're still suffering from decades of the attack in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And we've never had the world as heated up as we have it now. And the tendencies are there, even on a wider scale. Going further to the socio-political effects of armed conflict and wars, looking at the families, the social networks, the destruction of heritage sites, the cycles of cultural violence, instabilities. But worst of all, armed conflicts and wars erode the efforts at achieving sustainable peace. And this is why, as peace builders, we should be twice as worried, because each warring situation and each casualties that unfolds leaves a tendency for a relapse and reinvention of cycles of violence. And this is what makes our work twice as hard. And when we're talking about conflicts, it's not just when it's a hot war, we also have domestic terrorism of different kinds and the tendencies of vendetta and revenge. And that is why we must look out for every aspect and facets of brewing or ongoing wars to try to nip it in the bud. Lastly, on the effects of war is the psychosis aspect that has to do with the mental health and psychological consequences. For me, this is the most detrimental and yet the most downplayed of them all. And that's why we see generation of conflict, spiral generation, it keeps going back and forth. And then you look at some conflicts, they tell you that it has historical roots. And one gets to wonder, why does it have historical roots? So we have to pay attention to these things. The effects on the children, the effects on women, the effects on men. And then you look at the generational impact, how the upcoming generation borrows a leaf from what happened to their forefathers and try to, revisit the situation and met out revenge in different proportion. Then it becomes a cycle. I also took further efforts to try to bring these pictures so that we can actually reflect on them. If you're looking at this picture, the before and after the conflict, you begin to imagine, you start asking yourself, where are the individuals living in these beautiful houses? Are they dead or alive? And if they're alive, where are they? Are they in hospitals or are they in IDP camps like this? So imagine the effect that would have on their mental health. Imagine the effect that will have on their perception, on their life going forward, and the need to revisit the issue for justice. How about this picture? Public infrastructures, the school system, the hospitals, roads, etc. By the time we look at these things, it becomes clearer to us what we are talking about. It's not just mere rhetoric or storytelling. These are realities. And when we talk about casualties, we are talking about human beings and the effects, the devastating effects of wars on them. I went further to look at contemporary wars, even as we are talking. The UN assembly is ongoing, and yet there are still spirals of armed conflicts and wars in Ukraine, in Gaza, in Yemen, in Sudan, and of course, asymmetrical dimensions. And of course, those that are unfolding, the US-China tension, the gang violence in different parts of the world, issues with drug trafficking and drug cartels, and political polarization. And after the UN General Assembly are looking at coming up with the pacts for the future, just like we did for the Millennium Development Goals and the SDG goals, we tend to ask ourselves, since these goals and these are global objectives, has it gotten better or is it actually getting worse? And if it's getting worse, what are we not doing right? What should we do more? How should we reposition our frameworks to achieve better results, both as Rotarians and non-Rotarians? Now, trying to conclude my presentation, we get back to the question, why peace matters. And for a layman, it's easy to enumerate why peace matters. Talking about restoring human dignity, to put an end to the cycle of violence, to achieve and enhance global stability, and so on and so forth. But indeed, we as practitioners know that the enumerated reasons why peace matters, it's way beyond these lists. Peace matters because we owe that duty to humanity to ensure that we have a safe environment for our younger ones, for future generations, to ensure that we are inclusive in what we do and our approach to things, to ensure that we are tolerable, empathetic, and kind. So beyond this list as peace practitioners, the work is really momentous, and we must roll up our sleeves to do this work to actualize peace within our local community, in our country, and the world at large. Together, like we always say in the Action Group for Peace, peace is possible. And I thank you so very much for the opportunity to bring you this wonderful message of peace. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much, Dr. Petro. It was an excellent presentation. And in fact, you open our eyes on various aspects, the environmental consequences, the consequences on the mental health when there is conflict, and on bringing out the various conflict situation going on, ongoing conflict situation in different parts of the world. And we would definitely like to have your PPT with us so that we can share with all those who are present. So you can share with us, then we can send them, email them your presentation. Thank you very much.
Be rest assured you will get it.
Yeah, there will be question answer session after all the speaker, speak. So that time, people can ask some question to you. Next speaker, for the next speaker is DGN Grace Van Gil, who is the Rotary International Chair of Rotary Action Group for Peace. And I request Rotarian Surama Khadanga of Rotary Club of Bhubaneswar Flamingo, District 3262, India, to introduce her.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to everyone. I am Surama Khadanga from Bhubaneswar, India. Today I got the privilege to introduce Grace Van Gil, who is a financial life strategist by profession and semi-retired, focusing her energy on other entrepreneurial opportunities in the graphic design and video editing space. She joined Rotary in 2010 as a member at Rotary Club Benoni, Aurora, and served as president for 2015 and 16. In 2019, she joined the Rotary Club of Johannesburg to lead them to the centennial, where she served as president for 2 years. Grace, currently District 9400 Community Services Chair and CEO of the Foundation of Southern Africa Rotary Club. AG of Benoni, and immediate past District 9400 Chair for Polio Plus. As an avid peace builder, Grace formed the first peace building club in Southern Africa in 2020 and was appointed the Peace Builder Club Chair for District 9400. In 2021, she was instrumental in forming the Africa Peace Hour and is a regional leader representing Southern Africa. Grace is also a peace ambassador for the Institute of Economics and Peace, and in February 2022 was elected to Rotary International Action Group of Peace as a director for Africa, where she recently has also been elected as chair from 1st July 2024. She is passionate about building capacity to create positive, sustainable peace and presents to Rotary clubs all over the world on how they can incorporate peace building in their project. She is a multiple Paul Harris Fellow, benefactors Banquet Society member, a Paul Harris Society member, as well as a Polio Plus Society member. More recently, Grace was given a citation of meritorious services by the trustees of the Rotary Foundation. Madam, I am very lucky to introduce you, and you are such a noble lady and done so much of work. Grace is married to John Beniclip and has 3 children, Charles, Chris, and Danny. She is granny mom to Jane, who will soon celebrate his 12th birthday. In her spare time, she enjoys entertaining, spending time with friends, camping, and attempting to master the saxophone through London's Trinity College for Music. Thank you, madam. And again, I welcome you to this meeting. Your words.
Thank you very much, Sumara, for that wonderful introduction. And it is my honor to be here today to speak to you about something that's very close to my heart, cultivating a culture of peace. You heard from our previous speaker, my friend Pietro, why peace is necessary. And in a world filled with division, conflict, and uncertainty, the quest for peace is not just an aspiration, it is a necessity. But peace isn't merely the absence of conflict or war. It is a proactive process that we must nurture in our communities, in our institutions, and in our individual lives. Today, I would like to explore how we can build this culture of peace together. Let us all become more intentional about cultivating a spirit of peace and a culture of peace. When we think of peace, many of us imagine an end to war or violence. We saw an amazing presentation on why that is necessary. We also heard from our young presenter that is currently in Pakistan, what she has gone through in her life, and that she's never really experienced peace. And while it is crucial, true peace extends far beyond the absence of conflict. It includes social justice, equity, human dignity, and mutual respect. It means creating conditions where every individual can thrive. Peace is active, requiring ongoing commitment and engagement from all of us, not just in times of crisis, but in our daily lives, every single day, in every single circumstance that we face. Education is one of the most powerful tools we have in cultivating a culture of peace. Through peace education, we can teach the values of empathy, respect, and collaboration to future generations. By fostering critical thinking and understanding across cultural and ideological lines, we build resilient communities capable of resolving conflicts peacefully. In Rotary, for example, we invest in youth through positive peace initiatives, and Peace Fellows are playing an instrumental role in spreading these values around the world. It is through education that we plant the seeds of peace in every corner of society. And many of you may know that Rotary has formed an alliance with the Institute of Economics and Peace. And if you Google Rotary Peace Academy, you can go and do a free online course to find out more about positive, sustainable peace and what those 8 pillars are to create that culture of peace in our societies. Cultivating peace starts at grassroots level. It begins in our families, our schools, and our local communities. By promoting peace-building activities like dialogue circles, mediation training, or even collaborative community service projects, we can foster environments that prioritizes mutual respect and understanding. Think about peace builder clubs all around the world. I'm sure that there are many of you on this call that are peace builder clubs or part of a peace builder chapter. And my friend Pietro heads up the Nigerian chapter. So peace builder clubs work locally, but they create ripples globally. And if you have ever been on any of our Peace Builder Club meetings, you will know that we have partnered many Peace Builder Clubs with each other. We have connected Peace Builder Clubs with peace activators. We have connected them with Peace Fellows. So I would encourage you to think about Peace Builder Clubs and be part of that movement. This interconnectedness of Peace Builder Clubs is essential as it reminds us that peace is not an isolated endeavor. It is something that all of us are striving for. We need to work together across our borders, across our differences, to create sustainable change. Youth is critical to our mission. They bring fresh perspectives, their unbridled energy, and an innate sense of justice to peace-building efforts. If we invest in them through programs like Rotary's RYLA, Rotary Youth Leadership Awards, or other youth initiatives, they become ambassadors of peace in their schools, their communities, and beyond. Empowering young people means giving them the tools, opportunities, and mentorship they need to take ownership of peace building. They are not just the future, but they are the present agents of change. So let's invest more heavily in our youth. Leadership plays a vital role in fostering a culture of peace. Leaders, whether they are in government, business, civil society, or even within our local communities, have the power to influence the values that we prioritize. Leaders must model empathy, inclusivity, and fairness if we are to create peaceful societies. As the chair of the Rotary Action Group for Peace, I've seen firsthand how intentional leadership can inspire others to take bold steps in their peace-building journey. Leadership is not about power. It is about service, integrity, and uplifting others. So how can you and I cultivate a culture of peace? First, let's start by being peace builders in our daily lives. In Rotary and as Rotarians, we are sometimes unconsciously competent about peace building because every project we touch promotes positive, sustainable peace. Let us become conscious peace builders. Let us invest in ourselves. Let's educate ourselves on how to become more effective peace builders. Let us listen more than we speak. God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, but yet we all listen, but most of us listen to respond, not to listen to understand. So let's listen more and let's try and understand more. Let's extend empathy and resolve our own conflicts peacefully. Each one of us go through conflict. Last week, I was privileged to be on this platform as well to speak about peace. And I shared a very personal story and how I had to find peace within myself. Some of you may have been on that call. But it's very important that we resolve the conflict within ourselves, because if we cannot be at peace with ourselves, how can we build peace in our communities, our families, our workplaces, our school, and eventually in the world? Let's support educational initiatives that teach peace, whether through a formal school curriculum or informal community programs. And finally, let's engage and empower youth as the torchbearers of peace. We have the power to create a world where peace is not just an ideal, but a lived reality. Together, we can cultivate a culture of peace, have one conversation, one relationship, one act of kindness at a time. In closing, peace is not a noun. Peace is not something that you can touch. Peace is not tangible. However, peace is a word of action. And I would implore you, everyone on this call, to be more intentional about taking action to bring peace within yourself, your families, and your community. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Grace. And last time also you told us that story, and it was fantastic. And we will definitely, let me tell you that in my district 3262, our district governor has encouraged the clubs to plant peace pole. And we have already planted 5 peace pole. Yesterday also one at Puri by Rotary Club of Puri, that is in eastern part of India. And we intend to plant at least 25 peace pole and during this Rotary year, maybe more, and also peace trees. So we would thank you very much, and we are going to do more work on the peace, and we would also like to have your presentation, like whatever you have spoken, and if it is in a written form, then we would like to have a copy of it so that we can circulate among the clubs and the members. Thank you very much. Now we have our next speaker, the chief speaker of the day, past Rotary International Vice President Pat Merryweather, and I request Rotarian Dr. Pallavi Maji of Rotary Club of Burdwan in District 3240, India, to introduce her. Over to you, Dr. Pallavi Maji.
Greetings from RID 3240. Pat Merryweather, our guest, a distinguished member of Rotary Club of Naperville, Illinois, holds the position of Executive Director at Project Patient Care, a non-profit organization focused on enhancing healthcare. With an extensive background in healthcare improvement initiatives, Merryweather August has spearheaded nationwide patient and family engagement programs, collaborated on diagnostic research, and developed a widely recognized guide for healthcare services during the COVID-19 pandemic. Passionate about addressing care disparities, Merryweather August is actively involved in transforming the nursing home system to prioritize resident-centered care. Her expertise is recognized globally as she contributed to the World Health Organization's expert consultation on patient safety initiatives. Before her impactful work in healthcare, Merryweather August has made a significant contribution to Rotary. She has served on various committees, including the COVID-19 task force, and held leadership positions as a representative to the COL and COR. She also chaired the 2018 Presidential Peace Conference and actively participates in Rotary Foundation grant projects. Merryweather August values the collective power of Rotary and emphasizes the importance of collaboration and leveraging resources to create positive change. She has been recognized for her outstanding service with awards such as the Service Above Self Award and the Rotary Foundation Citation for Meritorious Service. Together with her spouse, George, who is also a Rotarian, Merryweather August is a member of Paul Harris Society and has generously supported Rotary. Together with her spouse, George, who is also a Rotarian, Merryweather August is a member of Paul Harris Society and has generously supported Rotary as benefactors and major donors. So, ma'am, the webinar is all yours.
Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for being here today. I love the discussion on peace. And Grace, I really enjoyed your discussion about intentional peace, because sometimes we just think it will happen magically. And we do. This is the Rotary Year of Magic, but we all know that magic takes a little bit of work and practice. So thank you for highlighting that. And I think everyone knows that the Rotary Action Group on Peace is very active. They're very engaged, and it's a wonderful group to be involved with. So I encourage people to participate in that, as well as many of you, I know some of you probably are Peace Corps, past Peace Corps volunteers. And so we also, through Rotary, have the Partners for Peace as well. So there's many opportunities. And I'm going to be talking today about the opportunities that we have. And I do believe in peace. And again, certainly, I think this is one of the foundations of Rotary is really about peace. So with the interest of let's have peace prevail on earth. Again, it's everything we do is towards peace. And I want to talk about peace through service, because Rotary is definitely, we're action oriented. We like to do things. And when we do things, it's within our club, within our locality, within the world. It really is providing the foundation of peace. So think about that, the opportunities that we have. Now, sometimes people say, well, what can I do? How can I affect peace? There's many areas that we can work through, and you are working through, but you sometimes don't realize it. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the positive peace, the Rotary areas of focus, and how those also combine to make for the foundation of peace, the sustainable development goals, the peace centers and peace fellows, and all of us, because we all are peace builders. And through service, again, we can make a difference. We can have an impact. I encourage everyone, if you have not gone out of your immediate area, and you could travel across the world or to a different country, but you can also travel to a different community, and you'll see that, again, there's a foundation of which we all agree upon. We all want the best for our children. We all want to have good housing. We want to have good health care. We want to live without violence in a world. So think about that there's more that binds us together with everyone around the world than divides us. And think of Rotary and the partners as well as opportunities to contribute to peace. And I just encourage you to explore the foundation of peace, to see how you are building blocks of peace, the foundation. We talked about positive peace and the Institute for Economics and Peace. I strongly, strongly encourage people to go through the curriculum. It's free to Rotarians. It doesn't cost anything, but it's very enlightening to see what are some of the major contributors that lead to not having peace. And yet at the other side, the flip side is, what are the major contributors that contribute to peace? So again, take the course. It's not that long. I've taken it twice because I took it once, and then a year later, I took it again because it's very good and it's very informative. And these are the 8 pillars that they talk about. So when we look at what's going on in the world, you can see where, and you can see the countries and where there are opportunities to affect peace. What are some of the challenges that they're facing? And when we have inequitable distribution of resources or high levels of corruption within countries or communities, that's when peace does not prevail. Peace is challenged. And it just isn't about countries. You can take these indicators and apply them to your communities as well, because you'll see there's common denominators throughout all of this. Now, when I look at the pillars of positive peace, I also think of our 7 areas of focus. When I talked about what's common, when I have traveled to, and I've gone on about 20 different countries working on Rotary projects and programs and grants, I have to say that there's so much commonality that what we experience here in the US, what we would want and what we sometimes have more of, and those that we're going to visit, that here's what they're interested in too. So again, it's disease prevention and treatment, the WASH, the maternal and child health, basic education and literacy, and basic education and literacy is this month as well as community economic development, and of course the environment. and peace building and conflict prevention. How do we really work on that and make an impact? We can measure our impact, and that's what the Institute does, is they measure the impact of these initiatives. But again, there's so much overlap between our areas of focus and positive peace. And of course, we know End Polio Now is our signature, outward initiative of Rotary, that when you think about how successful it has been to reduce the amount of children being affected with polio, children dying of polio, it is tremendous. But it's very intentional, and countries have worked together where they have not worked together before. They will work together on ending polio. So again, this is a signature initiative, and it has binded so many countries together to work together. We have a little bit of a way to go, but I'm confident that we'll make it, and the world will celebrate. That will be a world celebration when polio is eradicated. Now, looking at the United Nations, the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals, it's interesting because many of these initiatives, many of these goals are the same as Rotary's goals. And in many parts, they're also the pillars of peace for the Institute. So I think you're getting a sense that we're all sort of heading in the same direction. We may focus on different things, but we do head in the same direction, that we know that it's not just wanting peace, it's not just the absence of conflict, it's developing the resources and the ability so that everyone has an equitable chance at living a life, as well as having their families and children. Now, the peace centers to me, this is one of those jewels of Rotary. They were started in 2002, and I think you all know about the peace centers. There's over 1,800 peace fellows that have gone through the program. And I've had the opportunity, I've never met 1,800, but I've met probably about a dozen of them. And I am always overwhelmed by their enthusiasm, their knowledge, their experience, what they've been able to accomplish. And they are working several of them are working in war-torn areas, but they're also building the blocks for peace. So if you have not had a peace fellow from your district, I encourage you to look around and think about it. The peace applications go out in February, and they close in May. And talking to peace fellows, and they love to share their experiences with others. It's a great opportunity. I just did a program with the Zone Institute for 25B and 29 that's in the United States. And I had one peace fellow that recorded because she was going off to a conflict resolution meeting with another country and UN fellows. She's a UN representative. We had another person, Scott Lang, who joined us by Zoom. He's in Poland. He's working on the refugee situation for the Ukraine and the neighboring areas. And then we had Lauren Cafaro, who's a Peace Fellow, and she's now the Interim Executive Director of Peace Jam, a program for youth and working with the Nobel laureates. That just gives you an idea. These people are willing to talk, they're willing to Zoom, they're willing to contact different countries. It's just a matter of getting in touch with them, and they will do anything to help you out. They also serve as coaches for people that are applying for the Peace Fellowship. So where are these? Most of the Peace Fellows are in non-governmental organizations. Some of them are in multilateral organizations such as the UN and government agencies and doing research and education. There's very few that are involved. Only 5% are in business. But again, we also know in business, knowing the different countries, that it's helpful to have Peace Fellows in business as well for the ethics side. So think of the areas of peace building that I talked about. all of these are focused on the same thing, building peace, serving and supporting people that are working on peace. Some of the areas overlap, some of them are unique, and yet at the same time, as Rotarians, as Rotaractors, as interactors, we can be engaged in all of these areas as well. So I encourage you to consider looking at these areas, picking a tool or resource and working on it. And every time you do something in your community, every time you do something on a global grant, ending polio, giving out the immunizations, think of it as you are a building block for peace. And just to keep in mind, we are opening up a 7th Peace Center, and that is on February 20th to 22nd in Istanbul, Turkey. This is the first Peace Center that is being opened up in the Middle East, and it will be held at the Presidential Peace Conference in Istanbul. Everyone is invited. So we encourage people to consider attending because there's going to be a lot of things covered. And at the conference, they'll be talking about peace in a polarized world, as we've seen, technology, media, and peace building, environmental issues, as was noted earlier, and making peace last, sustainable. So again, opportunities abound for everyone to participate and enjoy and learn from each other. You'll make great contacts. And I just want to say that peace is really the foundation upon which we are all working. And it will take intentional efforts to make change occur. I wish we had that magic. I think we can create the magic. But again, we have to roll up our sleeves and do the work as well. So thank you.
Thank you very much. We will all try to attend the peace seminar, peace conference in Istanbul. In fact, there is some competition for the interactor also. We have received some letter for between the age group of 15 to 18. There is some essay competition or something is going to be held for this peace conference. So we will also share that with our interactors. Thank you very much. So now I request there is a question answer session to be held now. And I request PDG Lee Van to moderate the question answer session. We have four speakers, including the young 15-year-old speaker. And there is a lot of questions, I guess, from the audience who would like to clear their doubts or suggestions, etc. So I request now PDG Lee to take over.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to lead the questions. And of course, first for the audience here, who has a question, because we have a lot of questions also in the chat and in the preliminary questions. So let's see if there are questions now from the audience. Please raise your hand, your virtual hand.
Yeah, I have some important information which I'd like to share with the members. The story is that we believe in one world, one family. And this concept, service above self, is also a concept which is being given by Sadhguru Madhusudan Sai, Mudnahalli, Bangalore in India. He has inspired us to give free education, free health, and free nutrition to the children, and the world's first medical college in which MBBS is free of cost. The institution is near Bangalore, and we are into that. I am India representative for the Global Offset Care, California, and we do the telemedicine project with them. The peace through service. That is the point which Sadhguru Madhusudan has given. And all the students, like in our country, we are Sanatan Dharam, our religion is Sanatan. And in our ancient days, the students used to go to the Gurukul and stay with the teacher. And there was no charges for that. It should not be made commercial. And the students have to be transformed and they should take a message of peace all over the world. We are very lucky as a Rotarian that we have those peace universities in 7, 8 countries, and I had opportunity to visit. There was a conference, presidential conference on conflict resolution. So I would like to visit. I will send a link, and this university, which is giving free education, they are transforming scholars. They are also making peace ambassadors in their university. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for your contribution. I see that there are 2 hands raised already. First, I want to go to Barbara, and then to Bishu. Please, Barbara, go ahead.
Thank you so much. And I want to compliment all the speakers today. I was impressed with everybody, but especially Pat, who really brought together all of the options you have in Rotary. And you know, I am the past chair of the Rotary Action Group for Peace and honored to hear such a complete program. Now, Pat, here's my question. Is your PowerPoint available? Because I don't have to do all that research and make all those PowerPoints. So if it's available, I'd love to borrow it. And yesterday I spoke to all the Rotary clubs in California because it was the International Day of Peace, the 40th anniversary. And Pat, you did such a marvelous job that I would love to borrow your PowerPoint. Thank you.
Oh, you definitely can have it. And I think they're going to send out the PowerPoints because I did send mine in for usage for anyone.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
Thank you again. All you speak.
And thank you.
Our chair, Grace Van Zel. My darling Grace is such a great speaker, and I just so appreciate her taking over the chair. Thank you.
And thank you for your service as chair, too.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Barbara. It's known that all the presentations will be sent to everyone. And well, I think all the audience are agreeing with you that the speakers from today were excellent. So hand for all of them, please. Let's go to Bishu.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening. I am Vishnu Rajupreti from Nepal. I am currently serving as the chair of the Peace and Conflict Resolution Subcommittee of the District 3292, Nepal and Bhutan. The presentation today were excellent and it was really enriching. Thank you for all presenters. It was so good. And also I am relatively new to this forum since few sessions I am presenting in the past, and I realized that this is the real way to share experiences. I have one questions to any of the panelists or even whoever speaker or the participant about the root causes of the conflict and also leading to the peace process. We have a very bad civil war in the past. It was quite a big war. It had brought some positive result, but what happened once the peace process started, the women and the marginalized, excluded people were not really in any of the peace structure. For example, there are so many peace talks and negotiation committees. There were so many monitoring committees and others, but women's participation was not there. And what the rebel leader at that time said, we will represent the women, we will represent the excluded. Despite some drastic changes in Nepal, it is not sustaining because of these key players. For example, excluded group are not in the structure. So any of your experiences on dealing with such an issue in different parts of the world. What really we have to learn, what mechanism or what provisions can make sure that all the key stakeholders of the peace will be part of this peace process. That is a bit a political type of the issue, but still that is quite pertinent for us. Thank you.
Issue. Thank you for this complex question. Who would like to answer this question of the panelists, please?
So what exactly the question was? So sorry, but I couldn't get the main question.
I will repeat it very short. How to include the excluded in the peace-related structure, processes and structures in armed conflict situation.
Okay, Pat, I see your hand.
Yes.
To answer.
My experience is that you look for the allies. And, you know, for a woman, I was also experienced in, even in the United States, it took us several years for us to have some form of equity in jobs, equity in education. It didn't just happen. So you look for people that are allies. I'm working with a club that's actually a very good club, except they have no women, and they've never had women. And so they started off by, and this is recent, they started off by having honorary women as members, and they will move to the next level and invite women in. Sometimes it takes some stepping stones, but certainly if there's people that believe, especially if there are males that believe that women should be represented and they should have a voice in the peace process, which they should definitely, again, you work with those people. There are many times that I had to rely on males to be my ally in getting things done. I worked for the fire department for a little bit of time in Chicago, and that was male dominated. It was only males. And so how do you navigate that without the support and the structure there? So it really was having allies to be my helpers. So there's a saying that you always look for the helpers, because there are people around that will support you. And hopefully there's a number of people that will support the women. I know in some countries it's very challenging, as it is in Afghanistan right now. And so we have to look for the allies that some way, somehow can also help them in the future as well. So think of it that way. It's not just going it alone. It's looking for those that can help, and especially if they are males, that can lend their voice of support.
Thank you, Pat, for bringing this up. And there are still challenges for the future. Yes. We have two questions. We have Richard and Barbara. Richard, you go first. And would you be so kind to make your question precise, please?
Thank you very much for all the excellent presentations today. My question goes out to all of you. We have seen in Gaza the rise of a case of polio. The United States and WHO and UNICEF have orchestrated very short ceasefires. I'm wondering what role Rotary International might play in extending those ceasefires for a longer period of time and help in the resolution of this war. It's obviously very difficult. We have Ernest Thiessen here today, who has a computer program that can help with mediation. And I'm wondering if that might be beneficial as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there someone from the panel who wants to answer this question? It's more like a remark and an advice.
I think Rotary is doing the great work through the Gavi and also the Global Polio Eradication Initiative. So there are vaccines getting into the communities. There are groups that are also working to try and get in humanitarian efforts, initiatives, and both sides. And part of it is there's not much Rotary can do except provide guidance, advice. But this is far beyond what Rotary can do outside of the support and resources.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Pat.
Thank you.
Barbara.
Thank you again. This is a question for Grace. Grace, you have talked about inner peace, and I know you've had some tragedy recently in your life. What was the foundation of your inner peace?
Thanks, Barbara. But before I answer that question, I just want to comment on the previous one. You know, if I look at what happened in Pakistan and Afghanistan, Rotary International was quite instrumental there by speaking to the leaders to highlight the importance of polio vaccines and, you know, getting an agreement with the Taliban to say we still need to vaccinate. So from that point of view, Rotary gets very, very involved. But to say, well, we need a ceasefire, you know, one has to be very, very careful about an organization like Rotary or even the Rotary Action Group for Peace to be non-political. We cannot be seen to take sides. We can create the spaces for open dialogue, but we cannot force, you know, our hand as Rotary to cease fire or anything like that. So that's what makes it quite difficult. Barbara, your question was, what was it that created that inner peace? And I think I mentioned it last week as well. I said, if it wasn't for Rotary, and if it wasn't for going through everything that I've gone through with the Rotary Action Group for Peace and surrounding myself with people that are peace builders and educating and investing in myself, it would have been very difficult in finding inner peace, because I think the one, you know, once you start educating yourself, you develop your emotional intelligence, your emotional equity. And it's your emotional equity that is very, very important in finding inner peace. Because if you haven't got that emotional equity, it's you're fighting a losing battle. But inner peace is something that is vital for each one of us to be effective peace leaders. Because if you don't have inner peace, you cannot be a peace builder or peace leader. So investing in myself, surrounding myself with people, exactly what Pat was saying, you know, finding those people that root for you, finding those people that believe in you. That's how you overcome these things. And that was a small thing just for myself. But I had a incident with our club. We with the Rotary Club of Johannesburg, and we brought in a lot of diversity. So our club's 103 years old, and it's changed. We have got members from all over the globe, from all over Africa, from Uganda, Cameroon, Ghana, Zimbabwe, and every one of those people come with a different culture and a different expectation and a different understanding. And we had a huge amount of conflict in our club at one stage, where people were accusing everyone of racism and classism and all sorts of things. And what we did is, in our country, we have a thing called ARCM, which is African Community Mediators, which we actually trained up through the Uganda Peace Center in Makerere. And we have 67 of these peace mediators. And what we did is we actually reached out and said, please come and mediate what's going on in our club. And that really, really helped. So what happened was they came around and wasn't mediating. What they did is they created a safe space for everyone to talk about what they were feeling without being interrupted, without being judged, without being you know, told to say, well, you don't know what you're talking about. And at the end of that mediation session, we were a lot closer as members. And I think that's one of the vital things, is creating that safe space without judgment, to be able to sit around a table and have dialogue without the fear of being judged or cast out, but that your voice is really heard. And I think that's what's very important. Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you, Grace, for this contribution, because it makes a lot of practical sense as well. So the example is brilliant. Thank you so much. We're going to Rakesh, please.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for excellent presentation made by Dr. Pat and Dr. Grace. I'm just new in Rotary. I retired from a government department of which is related to water supply. Hello. Hello. Retired from water supply department. So I joined Rotary and I saw water and peace has a great relation. So this year UN agenda is also water for peace. So I agree with I don't have a question, I have a view. So peace is very important at a household level or a unit of family level. If we have to start building peace from at a very grassroots level. As I say, one has a inbuilt memory. That's the way we purchase mobile phones that have inbuilt memory, and what we add some thing extra to increase its memory. So I want this peace should be taught at home. In our Sanatan religion in India, we have 5 acts and 5 rules for peace building at home. So these 5 rules and 5 acts, there is a lot of time is needed to explain all these, but I just explain one: ahimsa, the non-violence. It is a act. In similar fashion, there are 10. So I think peace, peace is those countries which there is no conflict of war. They are also not in peace. So please, I want from Madam Pat and Madam Grace, what is about my view, whether it's right or. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, and you're so right. Everything is so connected, and thank you for your experience, sharing your experience. However, I don't see any questions anymore. And I'm wondering, we had some questions in the app. For instance, there is a question, and well, I see now questions. But first, we go to the questions already asked. Is it possible to establish a peace club in schools or in a community for young kids? I'm not sure who is going to answer this question, but it's interesting.
So yes, to be a peace club, you need to be part of the Rotary Action Group for Peace. So one of the things that we are working with, and you must also understand that protection of information, all that kind of thing becomes very relevant, especially when we're dealing with school-going children. However, if that school has got an Interact club, that Interact club can become a peace club. And they can be part of the Rotary Action Group for Peace. There are some conditions. You need some indemnities from parents and students and those kind of things. But yes, it's very possible for a school to become a peace club via being an Interact club.
Oh, excellent. So we know what we can do now. That's enlarge our reach. I see, Helen, you have a question.
Yes, I do. I believe that there's truth in the expression, no justice, no peace. But with all the disinformation that is going on in our society, at least in the United States, it creates a sense of distrust and injustice when maybe there's really just misunderstanding. So what can Rotary do to combat all this disinformation that keeps us in turmoil all the time? Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. Who would like to answer this question from Helen? Pat?
I think the United States is in, I live in the United States, and I think it's in challenging times. Oftentimes I remark that, is this how we want our children to learn? Is this how we want our children to have models? I think we need to get to a level of civility in our discussions. And yes, there's a lot of false information out there circulating all around, but it's trying to identify what is the truth, what are resources that you can use to find out the truth. But I truly believe the lack of civility is endangering children. Actually, in Illinois, there was a survey done on why children felt anxious. This was for more high school children, why they felt anxious, what was bothering them. And there were two key things that Rotary could address. One is the environment. They felt that nobody cares about their future. The adults don't care about the future because they're not doing anything on climate change issues. The second issue was that they felt that they're being taught in school not to call people by names, not to talk angrily to each other. And yet this is the model that we see sometimes playing out on the political stages. So it really is, what do we expect to model for?
We take the last question of Abdul, please. Okay, so let's go, because I see Arthur as well, and I think we have to round up this question, because there were so many questions at this point, and we have to, I think, close the question.
This can be the last question. Last question.
Okay. Yes, what I would like to do is, I noticed that Ernest is on the call, and it was mentioned by Richard Denton that he has a plan for how you could actually settle conflicts like in Gaza and Ukraine. And I wonder if, just before we close, Ernest could tell us a little bit about his Smart Settle process and how that could actually deal with some of the current crucial crises in the world.
Great idea, Arthur.
I'd be happy to say a little bit. Thank you, Arthur. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Hello, everybody. Well, I'm happy to announce that we have just started a new initiative, very brave initiative. We are going to participate in a parallel process to the Gaza Marshall Plan negotiations. There are people talking about stopping this war, but it's a very complicated process. A lot of different countries would need to agree to this, not only Israel and Hamas. And so with a group of volunteers, and I would like to invite all of you to join. And so I will put where you can become familiar with this. I will put a link in the chat and invite you all to see what we've got started and be in contact with us to join the initiative. If there are any specific questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
And you also have a plan for Ukraine, right? You have a Pacific negotiating strategy.
We started with Ukraine, Russia. We have a video for that as well. And if you go to the link that I will put into the chat, you will see that we have also created a simulation for the Gaza Marshall Plan. We've divided all the stakeholders into 6 groups, and I've used a group of volunteers plus artificial intelligence to elicit the preferences of those parties, and we've created a simulation. It's only 20 minutes long, and I'd invite you all to take a look and see what you think, and contact me to say you'd like to participate as we go forward.
Thank you so much for your contribution. It's much appreciated, and we're looking forward to the link in the chat. Rounding up these questions, thank you to the guest speakers for answering all the questions, and I'm handing it back to the moderator.
Thank you, Lee. And the question answer session was really very engrossing. Thank you very much, all the speakers, for answering all the queries and questions put forth by the audience. So now moving on to the next, is Tom around still? So the next in the agenda, do we have Lillian, Rotarian Lillian, or a Rotarian Abudwal Shiu? No. Okay. So now I request District Secretary Kasim Odeniru of District 9126 to propose the vote of thanks. Now I request Valerie to propose the vote of thanks and adjourn the meeting. And today's attendance statistics was 160. President Valerie.
Thank you very much. I'm here. I'll be taking the vote of thanks. I bring you greetings once again, goodwill, love, and friendship from my district, District 9126, and my club, the Rotary E-Club of Peace, Nigeria. I would like to thank everyone who has been part of this meeting, the guest speakers, the speakers, and everyone who has contributed to this meeting. Seeing Rotarians and peace builders from around the world is a true reflection that we are truly a people of action. Today, we are taking action together as we share knowledge, exchange ideas, goodwill, and friendship in making sign for peace and display of hashtags. This is one way, one of the many ways and contributions in joining to make this world more peaceful and better for everyone. And lastly, I sincerely thank everyone who has been part of this meeting today, and hope we have a beautiful and wonderful mega meeting next time. And then I adjourn the meeting to the next mega meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Edward, would you like to say something?
It's really a privilege to be a host, co-host along with you all. It was an excellent eye-opening session where we really came to know about how Rotary is involved to create a peace during the war. And we are so happy and privileged to be a part of this wonderful platform and a wonderful club.
I wanted
Dr. Sita, you did very well. You moderated very well.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Have a blessed day. Have a blessed day.